back to Gaming Hot Takes, a series where I read your hottest takes about various video games. In today's video, I'll be reading your personal hot takes about Pokemon X and Y. Now, as you guys know, I am not a huge fan of Pokemon X and Y. I've said that numerous times. I feel like these games just kinda didn't land the mark for me compared to Gen 5, which came right before it. But I am very curious to know what you guys like or didn't like about Pokemon X and Y. So with that said, let's get into what you guys sent in for this week. The reason for going on a journey is because Sycamore wants you to find out more about Mega Evolution, but this isn't really the focus of the game. Hardly any trainers use Mega Evolution and doesn't really tie into the villain plot. I think this could have a lot of potential to be interesting, so I hope Legends ZA can give Mega Evolution the story it deserves. So a lot of good points here. Even though I do love Mega Evolution, I feel like it was a bit underutilized in Pokemon X and Y. The Elite Four was the biggest example where they don't even use Mega Evolution. And yeah, I feel like there could have been more usage of it. And yeah, I agree. I think Legend ZA, we'll get into a hot take later, which will touch more on why there should be a third version of Pokemon X and Y. But yeah, I do hope ZA can maybe incorporate Mega Evolutions a bit more into the story and, you know, have it be a huge part of the story versus just, you know, have it be a mechanic that's not really used that much in the story. So, yeah, I do also wish that, even though, again, I do love Mega Evolution, I do wish it did tie more to the main story and that more people would have used it, especially the Elite Four. But yeah, I think it was a good amount of usage for what it was, but yeah, it could have been so much more in my opinion. They're overhated. I genuinely do not understand the hate for the games. I understand and agree with the criticisms of the game, small post-game, too easy, etc., but I don't find them to be as big of a problem as the internet as a whole seemed to. They were enjoyable games and gave us some absolutely incredible designs in both new mons and the Megas. So the last part I agree with, I do think there's a lot of cool Pokemon in this generation and a lot of cool Mega Evolutions. But, here's the thing, right? I don't think they're overhated. I feel like people just feel lesser of them because of the quality of these games compared to, like, Gen 5, 4, and 3, for example. I feel like this one just didn't quite meet the quality that we've come to expect from Pokemon at that time. Because again, Gen 5 was fantastic. Gen 5 is so beloved for a reason. Like, it had so much to look forward to, so much content, so much to explore, so much, you know, just find in that generation. And then when X and Y came out, it just didn't quite meet that bar that Gen 5 had set at the time. So, yeah, I don't think they're overhated. I feel like they're just, they're underloved, in my opinion. That's kind of a cheesy term to say, but it is kind of true. But yeah, the post game was definitely not that great. It was too easy if you turn EXP share on, especially. So yeah, I don't hate X and Y. I like X and Y, but I can't say I love them because they just, again, Gen 5 was so fantastic, and the bar for me was set pretty high with Gen 5, and for a lot of people like myself, it just didn't quite meet that bar with X and Y. So, yeah, they're not overhated to me, they're just, they're underloved, and for a very good reason. The region has one of the best aesthetics and some of the best Pokemon designs. Chestnut, Dragalge, and Pyro are all pretty great. So I just mentioned how I kind of agree that this generation does have some pretty cool Pokemon designs, even though I feel like probably Gen 8 and 9 have a more cooler list of Pokemon. So, yeah, I kind of agree with that first part, though. I feel like even though Kalos isn't my personal favorite region, I do feel like there's a lot of cool things to like about it. I feel like a lot of the towns are pretty cool to go to. A lot of the routes, too, are pretty fun, too. I feel like Gen 6 is kind of underrated in terms of how good the routes were to go on. That snow route was kind of fun. The Badlands were kind of cool. That one swamp area was kind of slow, but also kind of fun in a way. So yeah, I do kind of agree here. I feel like even though Kalos, again, isn't my personal favorite region of all time, I feel like I'd be lying if I said it didn't have a very cool aesthetic, as you said here, and, some very cool Pokemon designs. Chestnut, I'm not a huge fan of. Dragalge, same thing. I do like Pyro, though, because I love lions, personally. So yeah, I wouldn't go with your list, personally, of, examples for Pokemon in X and Y that are, that have cool designs, but, Aegislash is up there for me, my favorite of all time. Hawlucha is up there. So, yeah, pretty cool Pokemon designs, and yeah, I agree. The region definitely probably has a not the best aesthetic, but I'd say a pretty good one. Pokemon X and Y are two of the best main series games. Pokemon and Me, trainer customization, fairy types, and Mega Evolution are three of the biggest reasons why. This take is definitely based on my own personal preferences, but I also think it's one of the most beautiful regions. We touched on the region just in the last hot take, I should say. It is a pretty beautiful region, though I don't think it's the best region. What you listed here as far as why you love it, Pokemon and Me was fine. I didn't really use it that much. But it was cute. It was fine for what it was, even though it's not like the best feature of all time. It was kind of cute to play with your Pokemon and feed them whatever those things were. It was cute, but that other part though, trainer customization, I feel like that was the biggest reason why X and Y did so well for people, is because getting to finally dress up your person whenever you wanted to, and you know, getting to, like, you know, just have different outfits. And they had boutiques in the game, too, which was kind of cool. You could actually buy clothes at these cool shops around the region. And, yeah, people really did enjoy that. The fairy type as well. We got a new type after, like, what, 4 generations, because the last one was Gen 2, where we had Dark and Steel type introduced. So, that was a good reason, too. Mega Evolution, I agree as well. So yeah, pretty good takes here. I feel like the one I definitely don't agree with fully is Pokemon and Me, because again, that was a cute feature, but not like a worthwhile feature to have. I guess it was fine because it was on the touchscreen. It was like one of those 3DS sort of things where they wanted to use a touchscreen, and they had that for that reason. But yeah, honestly, good reasons here. I can see why X and Y is one of your favorites. It's two of the best because you have some good points here. Kalos is the best designed region in the franchise. The 3D models are overall better than the sprites. Just use the Pokemon and Me to see what I'm talking about. Zerasic is the best evil team admin in the series. Man, oh man, I hate to be that guy, but unfortunately, I disagree with all three of these points. And let me tell you why, okay? We've touched on, like, twice already why Kalos is a good region design-wise, but it's not the best design region. Like, Unova is still my favorite. So yeah, the 3D models though versus the sprites, I highly disagree. I feel like over time, ever since like maybe like Sword and Shield probably, I've grown to kind of just miss the sprites from Gen 5 because they were just so expressive. They had more character to them. I just feel like the sprites, the 3D sprites, the 3D sprites in the newer games just don't have that personality to them anymore. There's no character. They're so static. They're so boring to look at now. I really do miss the sprite work in earlier Pokemon games. I really do feel like ever since the Switch era of Pokemon, it's made me realize just how much these sprites were beloved and how cool they were to look at. Like, Gen 5 was fully animated, and they just had so much character and personality to them. Meanwhile, these 3D sprites just don't really have that, in my opinion. The last point, Zerasic is a fine character, but he's not the best evil admin. I disagree highly there. I feel like there's a lot other ones you can probably say here. Plumeria from Team Skull is probably way up there for me. What else? The Team Star people, the Team Star admins were very cool. So yeah, honestly, I feel like Zerasic is one of the more forgettable people. He's cooler in the anime because they gave Team Fleur like an actual arc in that anime versus the games where they kind of just make him not that relevant in my opinion. But yeah, I feel like in the games, Zerasic is probably, you know, very forgettable and not that cool of a villain, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, I appreciate your takes here, but unfortunately, I hate to be that guy, but I have to disagree with all three of these. Conceptually, the story is extremely good, better than Diamond and Pearl, but the lack of a third version or sequel makes people unable to realize it. Lysander, AZ, Sycamore, and Emma as characters are some of the best in Pokemon. This is the hot take I was looking for right here, because I agree with one specific part of this one. The lack of a third version or sequel makes people unable to realize it, that this could be a very, very good story. I've gone on record numerous times now saying that if there was any generation in the entirety of Pokemon that literally needed a third version game or a sequel or a follow-up like Black 2, White 2, Ultra Sun and Moon, X and Y was it. I feel like we were so in need of a Pokemon Z. Now we are getting Legend ZA, which will hopefully build upon the story that was set in Kalos with like the war that happened and, you know, build more on Mega Evolutions. But X and Y, I feel like we're just so in need of a third version game or a sequel or some sort of follow-up game like Pokemon X2 or Y2 or a Pokemon Z, because that region and story just felt like there was so much more meat on the bone to it that they didn't really fully explore before the end of the game. I feel like Xerneas and Yveltal were just kind of plot points in that game. They weren't really that important to the overall story. They just felt kind of there for me. Also, speaking of just feeling kind of there, Zygarde. Like, the anime did Zygarde so good, and the games just put him there. Like, you go to this random-ass cave in this random-ass part of the world, and Zygarde's just there. There's no story to him. There's no, you know, mention of him, really. He's just a there legendary, and he's a cool legendary. I think they could have had a really cool side story in Pokemon X and Y to build up to Zygarde, and they didn't even do that. So, yeah, I just feel like the story, even though it is kind of good, it is lacking a lot of potential here because of the lack of build-up and the lack of there being another game that can build upon this story to make it a bit more fleshed out and make it, you know, more memorable, because it just isn't that memorable because of how, I don't know, you guys get what I mean though, like, yeah. Also, the last point here, Lysander, AZ, Sycamore, and Emma, they're cool characters, but, again, I feel like because of how lackluster X and Y was story-wise, I can't say I love them because they just didn't have enough build up as characters to really make me love them that much. I do like Lysander and AZ especially, they're pretty cool. Sycamore and Emma are just kind of whatever in my opinion. Emma's story is pretty cool to go through though, like the post-game stuff. But yeah, I 100% agree here that there should have been a third version game for X and Y because it was crying for one. Stop! Now she'll die a virgin, stop! Stop it! Okay. Stop. Okay.
Stay the fuck in the fucking car!
Oh, fuck! That was a sneak peek of all the content that you might be missing out on by not becoming a YouTube member. When you're a YouTube member, you get so much bonus content such as all my anime watch-throughs, classic content like old Twitch streams, movie watch-alongs, and more. So what are you waiting for? Hit the join button down below, pick the tier you want, and enjoy all the benefits that come with your YouTube membership. If you're already a member, thank you for your support, enjoy your benefits, and now let's get back into the video. My hot take is that Sky battles were cool, and Pokemon could use more specialized battles that require to use a specific type. Honestly, I kind of agree here. I actually kind of adored the Sky battles a little bit, even though they weren't really that cool in my opinion. I do kind of wish they did have more battles that, like, you know, made you use certain types, like, if you were in a graveyard, you had to use only Ghost-type Pokemon. If you were in a volcano area, you could only use Fire-type Pokemon. If you were on the sea, you could only use Water-type Pokemon. I feel like that would have been a cool sort of representation of those YouTube videos that, where people only use one type to, like, either beat the game or beat the Elite Four or beat the champion. That could have been a really cool challenge to implement in the actual main game of Pokemon. Like, you know, having certain battles throughout the world that, made you only use one type of Pokemon. So, yeah, even though Sky battles were kind of underutilized in my opinion, and they weren't really that cool, they were kind of cool, but they weren't really that, you know, they weren't that cool. They were just, you know, they were cool for a hot minute, and then they kind of weren't for a time. So, yeah, but I agree here. I actually do want to see them try out more battle ideas in Pokemon games that, like, you know, limit you to, like, maybe one or two types of Pokemon to, like, give you more of a challenge. I'd be down for that. They're the last Pokemon games that still play on rails. Sun and Moon went fully free movement. Due to that alone, they're definitely more of a classic even though they use 3D sprites. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't miss the old style of Pokemon at all. Like, I don't miss the 4-directional movement or the 8-directional in X and Y. I think Pokemon nowadays is meant to be, you know, open world and fully free movement. Even though Scarlet and Violet, you know, had its issues, I do feel like that is the way to go for future Pokemon games, and just, you know, build upon that and make it look better, make it run better, hopefully, make it more expansive. So I do feel like Pokemon now is in a great spot to move forward with the franchise and actually build upon it versus back then where it did get kind of stale before X and Y. That's also why X and Y probably didn't do it for me that much, is because I think at that time the formula for Pokemon was just kind of growing a bit stale in terms of how you move around the world. And then Sun and Moon kind of went a little bit beyond that, and then Sword and Shield and the other games in the Switch era kind of really went all out. So, yeah, I don't miss the old era of Pokemon in terms of movement, because I feel like nowadays, having fully free movement is the way to go. The 3D sprites, we mentioned before, I don't really like them that much. The sprites from Gen 5 are still my favorite, and I hope they bring that back for future Pokemon games. But, yeah, pretty good points here, but I do feel like Pokemon needs to be fully free movement from here on out, and please bring back the sprites from Gen 5, because they are just full of personality and character, and we want them, and we miss them! If you turn off the EXP share immediately, those are actually pretty good games from a challenge standpoint. I mean, you're not wrong. I feel like most people had it on for good reason, because, like, having to grind in the older Pokemon games did grow to be kind of boring and just made you not enjoy the adventure that much, because you were stuck on one route trying to grind one Pokemon to beat, like, this one gym. So, I do feel like the EXP share being shared and being always on, or just being that sort of option, was always inevitable, because the grinding back then was definitely not fun. But here's the thing, even if EXP share was like the old days and gave you that challenge, I feel like X and Y just had so many more issues about it that even if they did fix this part about it, there's still a lot more about it that is just not that great. So, yeah, I agree that it would have been a more of a challenge for sure. It would have been, like, you know, not the easiest Pokemon games of all time, but again, I just feel like X and Y just had so many more problems that even if they did fix EXP share, it wouldn't have still been a great Pokemon game, in my opinion, or great Pokemon games, because, you know, the story was still mid, the characters were kind of mid, the region could have been a bit better. So, yeah, but I do agree that I would prefer having EXP share not be forced to be on anymore. I do think that should be an option for the player. But honestly, if we're being honest here, I'm gonna always have it on no matter what, because I'm kind of a noob. So that's just me. But you guys do you. Ever since I read someone comment that Yveltal looks like a flying bacon bird, I can't get it out of my head now. I don't know why I included this comment. I just laughed so hard when I read it the first time, because it actually is kind of true that Yveltal is this giant, like, bacon Y-shaped bird. I don't know why this is a hot take, but, like, here's the thing. I love Yveltal. It's better than his Xerneas in my opinion, but I mean, when you see Yveltal, you can't really lie that it kind of looks like a bacon bird. So, yeah, whoever wrote this, I appreciate you. Thank you for sending this in, but, yeah, I don't know why I included it in this video. It just made me laugh so hard, so, thank you for the humor. And, honestly, I kind of agree with this. It is a giant, flying bacon bird, so, shout out to Yveltal, our lovable flying bacon bird. Lysander is a much better villain than people realize. Here's the thing, I do like Lysander. I feel like the anime did him more justice, in my opinion, with his character. I think he is a good villain, but I feel like because the story just wasn't that good pacing-wise, and it just was kind of mid, I think Lysander's character did kind of suffer because of that, and also, his final battle, even though the visuals are kind of cool, it was a little bit underwhelming. It didn't really feel that challenging, and, I do kind of wish his ending was a little bit more fleshed out, because, like, we know he gets buried under that rubble, right? When the base collapses and he gets apparently buried under there. I feel like the anime gave him a much better send-off with how he supposedly dies in the anime. But yeah, also, I feel like the other reason why Lysander isn't that great is because his turn was very predictable. Like, his turn from good guy to bad guy. Like, you could pretty much tell that he was going to be the bad guy eventually with just how he was presented. So, Yeah, I think if the twist overall was a little bit more surprising and more, you know, out of left field, then it would have been cooler and it would have, like, added to his character. But I think because they made it way too predictable, it did kind of affect Lysander's whole evil villain arc because, again, we did kind of expect it, or at least I did. I think most people probably did, just, again, based on how they presented him in the main story up until that point. So, yeah, I do kind of agree with your point here that he is a much better villain than people may realize, but he's for sure not one of the best. He could have been better than what he was. The music is some of my favorite in any Pokemon game, on par with Hoenn for me. It always hits me in the feels for some reason. So Pokemon X and Y and Pokemon Sword and Shield are my two least favorite Pokemon games of all time, or at least mainline games. And for the same reasons, like the stories were mid, the characters were kind of mid in those games. But here's the thing, they are similar in the fact that for me, the best part of those two games, or those two pairs of games, is the soundtrack. I really like the music in X and Y, and especially Sword and Shield. I feel like those are the best parts of the game for me. Like, they really did nail the songs in, like, X and Y with the trainer battle theme, the wild Pokemon battle theme, the gym leader theme, the champion theme was cool, even Team Flare's theme was pretty neat. And then Sword and Shield really nailed, like, the gym leader theme and a lot of other music, which we won't get into the Sword and Shield hot take video. But anyway, going off topic here. I agree here. I feel like my favorite soundtrack is arguably still Unova and maybe even Hoenn, as you mentioned here. But I do gotta say, the soundtrack in X and Y, and I don't want to say this, I keep saying Sword and Shield. We'll get to that in another video. We'll do a hot take video for Sword and Shield in the future. I gotta stop talking about Sword and Shield. But X and Y has a pretty good soundtrack. The best part of that game by far. A lot of good songs in there. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it hit me in the feels. I feel like there's other tracks in Pokemon that like made me cry, like the emotion theme in Black and White is a good example. But yeah, the soundtrack in X and Y is pretty damn good, I do gotta say. Alright folks, that is it for your hot takes about Pokemon X and Y. So as always, thank you so much to those who sent in your hot takes for this week. And if you guys have your own hot takes for a future video, then make sure you guys are following the BC King Gaming Hot Takes Reddit page. Link is down below in the pinned comment, or right here if you guys want to, you know, watch it during the video. So there you go, make sure you guys go follow that page. But in the meantime, make sure you guys subscribe, ring the bell, and smash that like button for more amazing hot takes to come in the future. And I can't talk today, oh my god. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye, everybody.